Hey guys, it's Paul Ritzler here, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys on how to solve quadratic equations by factoring. Alright, so we have these two quadratic equations. As you can see, we have v squared plus 12v plus 20 equals 0, and then we have v squared minus 10v plus 25 equals 0. So how would you factor this? So our first step would be to look at this equation, and we have to come up with two binomials that will work to factor this. So we would, when we factor this, we have v times v plus plus 2. Okay, so this is the factored form of this equation right here. So we have v plus 10 times v plus 2. So when we multiply this to check to see if it gives us this equation, we simply do v times v, which is v squared. And then we do the middle part, which is 10v plus 2v, which is 12v. And then we do 10 times 2, which is 20. So that means that these will be our two binomials for our factored form of v squared plus 12v plus 20 equals 0. So now when we're solving for this, we want to set these two equal to 0. So we're going to write these out, equaling it to 0. So now we have this equal to 0. So my first step would be to subtract 10 from both sides. Okay, so I have v equals negative 10. So that would be one of our solutions. And then now we have to do the same thing for this. We have to set v plus 2 equal to 0. So we write it out. First step. So now we have v plus 2 equals 0. Now we have to subtract 2 from both sides. Subtract 2 from both sides. So we get v equals negative 2. So we have v equals negative 2, right? So after that's done, we have both of our solutions. So now we want to plug these two solutions into our equation to check to see if they equal 0, if they are both the correct solutions for our equation. So we plug negative 10 into v squared plus 12v plus 20. So how we do this is, what helps is you can put parentheses around the solution. So I would do negative 10 squared, right? So then we have negative 10 squared, and then so we do plus 12 times negative 10 plus 20 equals 0. Okay, so now we have plugged in one of our solutions into this equation. So now what we want to do is we always want to do our order of operations. So we want to do what's in the parentheses first, and then we whatever is done in the parentheses we would do we would focus on our exponents. So negative 10 to the power of 2 would be positive 100. Okay. So now we do 12 times hello. So now we do 12 times negative 10, which is negative 120. All right. So now we have positive 100 plus negative 120 plus 20 equals 0. So now it's just simple operations. So now we would have 100 plus 100, negative 120, which would be negative 20. So we have negative 20. We do have this other sheet of paper, so we don't have room. So we have negative 20 plus positive 20. And when we have two numbers that are the same and they are both opposite signs, it always is equal to 0. So we would set that equal to 0. And then we are going to check our second solution, which is our -2 from what we got when we set v plus 2 equal to 0. So we're going to plug this solution, this number, into our equation, right? So then we're going to do -2 squared, -2 squared. And then we are going to do plus 12 times -2. Here, let me write this down. And then we add our 20, and then we put equals 0. So we do -2 squared, which is positive 4. So then we add. So then we do 12 times -2, which is -24. So we have -24 over here. And then we have plus our 20. So we have plus 20 equals 0. So now we just do straight across. We add straight across, so from left to right. So now we have 4 plus -24, which is -20. Because if you always, key to remember is that you always take the sign of the bigger number whenever you're adding. So we have -20, and then we add 20s, which gives us 0. So that means that our final solutions for our quadratic equation in our first example, v squared plus 12v plus 20, our two solutions would be -10 and -2. So -10 and -2. Now, this isn't an ordered pair, but I would write it as -10, comma 2 instead of in parentheses. So those are your two solutions in your quadratic equation. So now, let's go into our next example. So our next example we have here is our v squared minus 10v plus 25, right? So we look at this equation, and now we have to factor this as well. So we have v times v. So now we have to think of two numbers that multiply to positive 25, but add up to -10. So now when we think of two numbers, we think of -5 and -5, because -5 times -5 is positive 25, and -5 minus 5 is -10. So we would write that out as our two factored forms, our two binomials. So we have v minus 5 times v minus 5. And if you want to check to see if it is our original equation in our second example, this is how we would do it. So again, we would multiply v times v, which is v squared, then -5v minus 5v, which is -10v, and then we would do -5 times -5, which is positive 25. And then this is what we end up with. And when we look at our equation in example 2, it matches. So that way you know that this is the factored form of this polynomial. Alright, so now our next step is we have to set both of these equal to 0. Now when you look at these two factored forms, you know that both of them are the same. So therefore, since they are the same, you know that we're going to get both of these solutions are going to be the same number. So we would set v minus 5 equal to 0. v minus 5 equal to 0. So now when we have that, we would add 5 to both sides. So these two 5s cancel out. Then we add 5 over here. So now we have v equals 5.
Oh, we should go in there and see if there is room for
So now we know that one of our solutions is v equals 5. And we know that it'll be the same when we plug in this number equal to 0. So these are both the same. So now when we find our solution, when we test it, we have to plug it into our original equation from example 2. So we take 5 squared minus 10 times 5 minus 10 times 5. Okay, so now we have plus 25, and then we equal 0. Set it equal to 0. Okay, so now this is what it looks like when we plug in our solution to our equation. So now we have 5 squared, which is 25. And then we have negative 10 times 5, which is negative 50. So negative 50 plus 25 equals 0. So now we just do our operations from left to right. So now we do 25 minus 50, which is negative 25, because as you can see, this sign changes to a plus, and then this becomes a negative number. So we would do plus negative 50, which is negative 25, right? Negative 25 plus 25 gives us our 0. So that means that 5 would be our solution to example 2 over here. So, and that is how you solve polynomial or quadratic equations by factoring. And I hope you found this video helpful. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in my next. All right, thanks. Bye.